Morning. How are you? Are you fine? Are you there? So you're six. Okay, doesn't matter. We can start, and the rest can join in a few minutes. Very good. So we're going to divide our today's class into two parts. The first one, we're going to do the review of some concepts about demography. We're going to follow our notes, our social science notes, and we're going to check some exercises, and we're going to watch some documentaries on YouTube about the theme. And in the final part, you're going to see two fantastic works that some of you made on two very important and famous Spanish painters of the Golden Age, El Greco, again, and Murillo. Very good. So let's get started. So first thing, we're going to go to our exercise part. So please be prepared with your notes. You have to do this exercise. You have to tick true or false, and you have to correct the false sentences. Remember that. And the first exercise A reads: a population can grow when there are more deaths than births. And this is clearly, you can write, yes, this is false. Okay, so the correct sentence would be: a population can grow only when there are more births than deaths. B, a population can decrease if there are more births than deaths. Can decrease. Okay, not easy. So this is false as well. So the opposite is true. A population can increase if there are more births than deaths. C, fertility rates give us an idea about whether or not the population will increase in the future. Fertility rates, remember, is the number of births that a woman can have in her lifetime. And this sentence is yes, this is true. This is true. And to understand better, to better understand this concept, fertility rates, you have to go to the exercise D. To sustain the levels of population in a country, a fertility rate of 1.5 is required. And this is yes, this is false. Okay, more than 2.1 is required. Good, very good. So go to the next exercise. Life expectancy is a crucial indicator for governments to calculate pensions. Life expectancy, remember, is the age until when a person is expected to live. This is life expectancy. And this is, yes, that's true. This is a crucial indicator for governments to calculate pensions. It's true. Now, F. Social changes in a population are related to surveys. Surveys is a kind of register, is what in Spanish called encuesta. Social changes. This is true. This is true. This is true. Remember that social changes, surveys, normally are related to things that are qualitative. So we're going to study, for example, the educational level, okay, the social level, these kind of things. G. People that migrate are called immigrants in the country where they eventually come. Immigrants. People that migrate are called immigrants in the country where they eventually come. No, this is false. The opposite is true. So people are called immigrants in the country where they are going out. The opposite is true. And finally, they are called immigrants in their country of origin. No, in the country of origin, they are called immigrants. There are Spanish immigrants, okay, and people that come from abroad that are called immigrants. Okay, many of them in Spain in this moment. Very good. So let's go to the text part. And you have there a very interesting page. So about population groups. It reads this way: in order to study better the quantitative aspect of a population, we classify it in groups. Thus, population is divided into gender groups, males and females, or into age groups. So, 0 to 9 years old, 10 to 19 years old, and so on. So, this is the concept of gender and age groups. Gender, males and females. Age groups according to the age. But according to social features, we can find many other groups. Studying economics, for instance, we differentiate active population. Active population is the fraction of people that is either employed or unemployed. Active population, okay, and you have to bear in mind that only people that can work are considered active population, no matter if they actually are working or not. So retirees people that elderly people that live on a pension, they are not active population. Students, you are not active population. Why? Because you can't work. You can't work until you come of age. And in active population are children, students, and pensioners. Pensioners are elderly people that are living on a pension that normally the state gives them. And the educational level of a population ranges from illiteracy. Illiteracy is an interesting word that means analfabetismo in Spanish. So people that can't read nor write. And elementary studies to university. So this is the educational level. And the wealth distribution in a population divides the population in groups according to their incomes, from poor to billionaires. Not only that, because in population groups we have many groups, so in terms of culture and traditions, population can also be divided. Ethnic groups are composed of people that share the same language and culture. Chinese, Native Americans, or Indians are examples of ethnic group. In religious groups, another example are, for example, Christian, Muslims, Buddhists, and so on. And similarly, population can be divided into many other groups in relation to a particular field: politics, music, opinions, preferences. Okay, these are all of them qualitative aspects that are looked into through surveys. Remember, there are quantitative aspects and qualitative. We're talking now about qualitative aspects, because quantitative aspects answer the question how many, and they are investigated by census registries. Very good. So according to that, now I like you to watch a very interesting video. This is an introduction to demographics. So pay attention. And I remind you, if you are interested in any of these videos, you can ask me freely, okay? No problem. Good, so.
What is demography? Demography is the study of population. Demographers don't care about one person, or one family, or even about a whole town of people. at least not taken out of context. Demographers care about the big picture, about the ebb and flow of the size and composition of our world's, nations, or local areas' population. There are three things that people do in their lives that shape a population. They get born and they have babies, or not. They move around, or not. And they die, no matter what. So demography is the study of these personal activities, but at a macro level, and with particular attention to how they interact. In and of itself, that's pretty dry. Fertility, mortality, and migration affect...
Remember, mortality, this is the rates of people that die. Fertility, this is the number of children that a woman can have in her lifetime. And migration is the movement of people. Remember that?
Population composition, size, and distribution, and vice versa. Social and biological factors affect population processes and composition, and vice versa. In fact, population processes and the size, distribution, and composition of a population are affected by or affect so many other parts of the social and natural world that there's something fun to study for anyone interested in economic development, interested in natural resource depletion, interested in women's rights, interested in generational conflict. The list goes on and on. Some social scientists make a distinction between demography, as the study of the formal population processes and outcomes, and population studies, which also include the factors affecting or affected by population processes. I don't really make a distinction and tend to use the terms interchangeably. In this course, after an overview of population in general, we'll be focusing on fertility, population change, and policy that's aimed at influencing fertility and population change.
Very good. So, this is introduction for our course. It's now we're going to go back to our notes because we had there another exercise. So this is page number 3, and you have to answer these questions. Talking about migrations, remember that the migration is the movement of people, and there can be a lot of massive migrations. And throughout history in humankind, there's been a lot of migrations, even today. So number 1 is, can you put an example of a migration on a small scale? Migration on a small scale? Yes. Some of you said, okay, my case, I remember one of your fellow mates that said, because we come from America, we are an example of a small scale. That could be 2, okay, but we need more than one family, okay, more than one family. But it could be a good example. A small scale, maybe some families that move from a country to another. Why? Because they always are looking for a better life. So B, can you put an historical example of migration on a massive scale? Many of them. So in prehistory, you remember the Iberians. They came from Asia. The Celts or Celts. They came from northern or Central Europe to the Iberian Peninsula. Remember, these are two examples. C. Can you name some environmental catastrophes the migrants tried to escape? Yes, many of them. Floods, especially in countries such as India, for example. Floods or droughts. Many people that go out from Central Africa. Droughts, sequías, earthquakes. Maybe you can remember because you weren't born yet at the time, but in Haiti there was I don't remember, maybe 10 years ago, a very important earthquake, and people start migrating from there. Okay, people who could. And D, what are famines? Famines are situations in which there are people that can't eat and they are starving, they're dying, they have nothing to eat. Okay, one day, another day, 1 week, 1 month. These are famines. Good. What are plagues? Can you name any historical plague? Maybe we are now inside a plague. Okay? COVID-19 is a plague, but historically, many of them, especially at the end of the Middle Ages, plague. And at the end of the Middle Ages, there was a plague that was called Black Death, muerte negra, la peste negra in Spanish. Very good. Why do wars produce migrations? Why? Because people, many times, ordinary people can understand the reasons why a war is conducted. Okay, a war has erupted, and they try to flee the war, to escape the war, and they are looking for a safe place to live, they and their families. G, can you name any current war in the world? Do you know? Some places, wars. For example, in Syria, a 8-year war, and it's still raging on. Libya, in Central Africa, Yemen. There are many wars in the world. And finally, do migrants have rights? Why? Do they have rights, migrants? Yes, because they are human beings. They have human rights. They have a right to education, a right to live, a right to justice. Very good, very good. Now, please, I'd like you to go to another, I think, interesting documentary about demography. In this case, about demography and geography. So, pay attention.
This is Suzanne. Her job is to plan what kinds of buildings should be built in the city where she lives. She works as a city planner. Suzanne.
A city planner is a person that is planning the future of the city in terms of buildings, in terms of free areas. This is what in Spanish we call urbanismo. A very interesting discipline.
Suzanne is inspecting a plot the city has bought. But what should be built? The city's inhabitants are of different opinions. Jenny dreams of living in a big house for young people when she's old enough to leave home. There needs to be a rehearsal studio. John wants a new school to be built on the plot Suzanne is inspecting. Then his children won't need to travel so far in the mornings. And Cecilia thinks that there's a shortage of apartments that suit the needs of the elderly. There's a need for a house with an elevator and a garden. All ideas are possible to carry out, but planning a construction project takes time. It can take many years to get all the decisions in place and until a building is finished.
So we need to know if we need 2 or 20 schools. We need to know if we need many or not parks. It all depends of the number of children we are expecting, or elderly people that we are expecting. It It all depends. So we need demography, we need data, we need surveys, we need registers to know that, because it takes time to build all these things, and this is the work of democracy. Sorry, the demography.
By then, Jenny will be a grown-up woman. John's children will have left school. And Cecilia, well, she might not even be alive. To make a decision, Suzanne needs to learn more about the city's inhabitants. Not only those who live in the city right now, but also about those who will live there in the future. Suzanne needs the help of demography. The word demography comes from Greek. Demos means people, and grapho means description. Demography is what we use when we want to describe a population. And for that we need facts and figures. We need statistics. In most countries, government agencies collect information about the people who live there. The number of births, the number of deaths, how many move in and out of the country, where people live, their address, how many are studying, are unemployed, have jobs, their occupations, and much more. All this information is saved in registries, but it takes a lot of effort to construct accurate registries. In poor countries with many inhabitants, or countries where there's war, statistics are often missing. To learn more about the population, a state can conduct a census. In the world's most populous country, China, a census was conducted in 2010. 6 million people made calls or knocked on doors to ask questions about each household. How many people live at the address, how old they are, what gender they are, and about their level of education. When the census was finished, they had counted 1.37 billion people.
This is a lot. China is the most populated country in the world. Okay, China and India, but China is the most populated country in the world. Okay, and when in English they say 1 billion, take care because this is a false friend in Spanish. A billion in English is 1,000 millions. 1,000 more than a billion means, you can see there. Okay, this is 1,370 million people. A lot. Okay, remember that in the world we want to study there are around 7.5 billion people nowadays.
Oh, right. We were supposed to help you. In the city where Suzanne works, accurate registries have been kept for a long time. That means we know quite a lot about those who live in the city right now and about those who've lived there in the past. With the help of these statistics, we can try to predict who will live in the city in the future. We can make a forecast.
A forecast is a prediction. You try to imagine the future. This is a prediction, and this is a forecast. Okay, all days on TV we can see a man or a woman that are forecasting the weather, el hombre del tiempo. They are making prediction based on science.
When we make forecasts, we look at statistics and try to see patterns. We try to understand how what has happened in the past might influence what will happen in the future. That is what we need to do now. In the registries, we find statistics from the last few years. Every year, fewer and fewer children are born. Most young people move away from the city after leaving school. And the retired, in this city, people live to become very old.
This is true for Spain. Okay, fewer children are born every year. Young people leave to other countries, looking for a life in Spain, and people live to become old and older and older. This is true for Spain as well.
Most of those who move to the city from other places are also retired people. Now we can make a forecast. Are you with us, Suzanne? Not many children are being born. That means there'll be no need for more schools in the future. Many young people leave. This means a big house for young people would probably not be fully used. We know that people grow very old and that retired people continue to move into the city. This means that the number of elderly people will grow while the proportions of children and young people will go down. The city has an aging population. In the future, there'll be a need for housing that suits the needs of elderly people.
Because there is expected a very large number of elderly people. So the planner is going to prepare the ground to build more houses for elderly people.
So, Suzanne will plan for more buildings with lifts and gardens. And maybe a studio too.
Very good. So let's summarize our theme. This is the presentation you have with you. We're going to see these two things. So, summarizing. Remember, population groups. We have to look for quantitative aspects and qualitative aspects. Remember, the difference is a quantitative aspect is a question that is answered by a number. So, quantitative aspects is how many males or females there are in a society. And another very interesting and important quantitative aspect is the age groups. So, how many people there are in a society between 0 and 9, between 10 and 19. Okay, these are quantitative aspects, and we also have qualitative aspects. So we have economics, educational level, wealth distribution, ethnic groups, religious, and many other groups. So, as for economics, we need this is very important: the active population and the inactive population. Active population is the number of people that can work. Okay, why? Because they are above 16 in Spain, above 16, and they are below 77 in Spain now. Okay, and inactive population is the people that can't work. You are an active population. Because you are students, you are children, you can't work. Okay, it's forbidden for you to work. And people that are above 67 are inactive population. But imagine a person that is looking for a job and this is jobless, and he or she is 25. This is active population, no matter if they are working or not. This is important. The educational level ranks from illiteracy, people that can't read or write, to university. Okay, so in your case, you are in this part, elementary studies, because you are children, you are studying in primary school. Another social group is wealth distribution, and it ranges from poor people to billionaires. And then in the middle, there are many groups. Okay, ethnic groups are groups related to the beliefs, to the country of origin, and they could be Chinese, Native American, many people. Religious groups, according to your religion, if you are practicing any. So Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, atheists could be. Good. And this is interesting because this is the part that you have to work today and tomorrow. And this is the slide about absolute population and population density. Remember, absolute population is the exact number of people that live in an area. For example, in Spain, we know that there are around 47 million people. Okay, in China, for example, we know that there are 1,378 million people, or the most populated country in the world. But population density, this is a division between the number of people and the surface of the area. Population density is a division, so, and this is the average people that lives in each square kilometer. For example, in Madrid there is a population density that is higher than in Castilla y León. Why is it? Because the population of Madrid, if you divide it into the surface of Madrid community, gives as a result a number that is higher than if you do the same with Castilla y León or Castilla-La Mancha or Extremadura. Very good, very good. Now it is time to change our theme, and I'd like you to watch some very fantastic works made by some of you. This is a work by Valeria Gomez about El Greco. Very interesting. Remember that the other day we watched a very similar work made by Alex. In this case, Valeria did a very interesting work, and there are some pictures different from some of them are the same, but there are different pictures from what Alex told us the other day. So this is El Greco. Oh, sorry. This is the end. I want to go to the start. This is my fault. Sorry. Remember, the name was Domenikos Tetokopoulos, and he was born in Greece. Gandia. I don't know exactly this photo is about Gandia in Spain. In this case, it would be wrong. Candia is a place in Greece, and this is Toledo, because he lived half of his life here in Toledo. This is a current photo of Toledo. This is Alcántara Bridge. This is the Alcázar. Okay, Toledo is one of the most historical cities in the world, not only in Spain, in the world. And he belongs to the Renaissance, not the Baroque. And well, this is okay. So this is his son, his brother, his father. Not very sure, but his son was another artist. In this case, his son was kind of architect. You go to Toledo, just in front of the cathedral, you had to see the town hall, and this building, this magnificent building was made by El Greco's son. Yes, this is one of the most Valeria is right here. It's probably Greco's most recognized work. It's called El Caballero de la Mano en el Pecho. No why. Okay. Hidalgo español. Interesting. El Greco made many pictures about the apostles. Apostles were the friends of Jesus Christ, and these are Saint Peter and Saint Paul. Okay, if you see them closely, okay, to the faces, you can see a saint. You only see people, ordinary people. Good. Another famous painting by El Greco. Okay. This is Jesus Christ. Greco painted many religious works because the clients were people of the church, the Catholic Church, and they paid for it. So this is a miracle. Jesus Christ is giving sight of a blind person. And you recognize this picture. This is Toledo. This is Toledo. In Toledo, this is the Alcantara Bridge. Okay, the same as the bridge we saw the beginning of this presentation. This is the Alcázar. This is the cathedral. Okay, this is San Servando Castle. This is Tagus River. The same. So you go today to visit Toledo, you can, I know. Okay, but when you go to visit Toledo, there is a site of Toledo. This is mostly the same. And this is the end. So Valeria, a very good work. So congratulations for it. And now I want you to watch another fantastic work made by Inés. Inés made a work about Bartolomé Esteban Murillo, and this is the beginning. Bartolomé Esteban Murillo, another genius, Spanish genius, painting. So this is Bartolomé Esteban Murillo, and he was a member of a very large family. He was born in Andalusia, in Sevilla. Here, remember, Spain and Sevilla and Andalusia. Good, very good. He's remembered as the painter of two things, of the Virgin Mary and the painter of children. You can see here, oh sorry, okay, this is a painting of a children. Look this speaker, okay. It looks like it is real. And we can imagine many things about the Golden Age by looking at these kind of painters. So Spain, remember, Spain was the most powerful country in the world, but the people were poor. The people were poor. We have a lot of gold and silver, but people didn't take advantage of these riches. People lived very poorly. This is a very normal scene. So two women are looking out on the window. Okay, you can see this in United States. But Murillo is very famous because he was able to paint the Virgin Mary in many ways. Okay, sometimes taking his wife as a model, and he's remembered as the painter of the Virgin Mary. And you see, but if you look closely, you can see a virgin. You can see just a normal girl, an ordinary girl, and a normal boy. Can you see it? This is a very famous painting by Murillo. This, I believe, that the Virgin Mary, when she died, he went up to the heaven, and she was helped by all these kind of angels, right, who were pushing her up to the heaven. So I believe. Another very famous painting. Normally at Christmas time, many people take this very painting to greet Christmas to their friends. So the Virgin Mary, this is Saint Joseph, this is the children, this is the shepherds. Okay, good. This is another very famous painting by Murillo. This is called La Sagrada Familia del Pajarito. Look, this is the boy, and he has a little bird, okay, in his hand. This is the Virgin Mary, and this is Saint Joseph. But if you look closely, you you don't need to you don't need to see the sacred family. You can see any family, a normal family. This is the father, this is the mother, okay, the child, and the dog. Normal family. Good. Look, there are young girls that are eating grapes. Can you see them here? This is an ordinary scene in Andalusia. So, very good. So, congratulations to all of you. And now this is the end of this class. So remember, we have an appointment at 12 o'clock. Very good. We are finishing this part. Thank you for your attention.